Let me tell you about a man who has indeed begun a new dispensation. There have been only 7, and one man who began a new dispensation of his own accord was Abraham. He was not born great, but however he grew great. Faith is not easy. Intimacy with God is the divine relationship with faith. It is not an easy life, but it is an exciting life. It's not something that just happens to you. Number 2, faith hears. Genesis 12:1 says, "The Lord had said to Abram, 'Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you.'" Abraham was a citizen of Ur of the Chaldeans. Abraham's people developed the city of Babylon and Babel, the great tower. In spite of their culture, people and their families were idolaters. In Joshua 24:2, it says, "Joshua said to the people, 'This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago your ancestors, including Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates River, and they worshipped other gods.'" Abraham's environment and inheritance were at odds with his faith. He was not a product of his time. He was different. Abraham was like a lily that came up out of the mire, and like a rose that came out from among the briars. Abraham received word from God that he should leave his house and his land and all his people and go out from them. God promised to bless him if he did it. God speaks to many people, but all too often they do not recognize God's voice. It's unfortunate when they don't know the voice of God. What is faith? It is to listen to the voice of God. God spoke, and Abraham listened. How can one hear the voice of God? Being quiet before him, living in his presence, reading his word, loving him with all your heart. God wishes to speak to his people. The first intriguing thing about Abraham is that he heard when God spoke. He didn't have to run away like Samuel when he said to Eli, "Did you call me?" Eli said, "No, I didn't call you." After 3 journeys there, Eli said, "Samuel, this must be God talking to you. If God has something to say, then listen." Whole denominations miss God because they cannot hear what he has to say. Jesus said that there are people who have ears but do not hear. I can assure you that there are millions of so-called Christians who do not know God's voice at all. Faith is the knowledge within us that when God speaks, we understand what he has said. So faith hears God. Number 3, faith acts. Genesis 12:4 says, "So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he had left Haran." Abraham obeyed. He did not stop between the 2 great rivers, Euphrates and Tigris, a rich, luxurious, enticing area. At that time, the largest civilization on the surface of the earth was located right there. And God said, "You are going west, young Abram." And he gave him no map. He just said, "Go," and Abraham started to walk.